Imagine a bustling city in the heart of Europe. The year is 1518. Strasbourg, a prominent center of trade, throbs with life. Craftsmen toil, merchants hawk their wares, and the aroma of freshly baked bread fills the air. Beneath the prosperity, a harsh summer and disease cast a shadow. In the stifling air of a July afternoon, an inexplicable event occurred. Word of Frau Trophea's bizarre behavior spread quickly. A crowd gathered, drawn by curiosity and apprehension. Within hours, others joined her delirious dance. Men and women, young and old, swayed and twitched, their faces contorted in agony and ecstasy. The once orderly streets of Strasbourg descended into chaos. The dancing plague had begun. Strasbourg in 1518 was a city of contrasts. Prosperity from trade funded magnificent cathedrals and guild halls. Yet beneath this veneer, a rigid social order left many struggling. The Black Death still lingered in memory, a reminder of life's fragility. The oppressive heat and rising food prices created a climate of fear and uncertainty, a tinderbox waiting for a spark. Life in Strasbourg was deeply intertwined with tradition and superstition. The Catholic faith permeated daily existence. Belief in the supernatural offered a framework for understanding the unexplainable. Music and dance were outlets for both celebration and sorrow. Frau Trophea's sudden dance, defying social norms, raised fears of demonic influence or a dangerous new form of madness. The summer of 1518 was trying for Strasbourg. The relentless heat and dwindling Rhine River threatened the city's food supply. Economic anxiety grew as the cost of necessities rose. Disease spread rapidly through the crowded streets. In this climate of fear, Frau Trophea's strange dance ignited a spark, becoming a focal point for the city's anxieties. Frau Trophea's grotesque dance sent ripples of unease through the city. At first, people dismissed it as madness or possession, but as more citizens exhibited the same symptoms, dread settled over Strasbourg. The macabre spectacle drew larger crowds. The plague spread like wildfire, until it seemed the entire city was caught in its relentless rhythm. The dancing plague overwhelmed Strasbourg. The streets were choked with a writhing mass of humanity. Physicians and city authorities struggled to cope. They tried various measures, from soothing melodies to exorcisms. The city council even constructed a makeshift asylum. The crisis deepened, leaving Strasbourg in chaos. As weeks passed, the dancers' energy waned. Exhaustion and death took a heavy toll. The city reeked of death and despair. Fear hung over Strasbourg like a shroud. The dancing plague reached its horrifying crescendo, a macabre dance of death. The dancing plague of 1518 remains a chilling enigma. Theories abound, from poisoning to mass hysteria. Researchers sift through scant historical evidence, seeking answers. Was it a physical ailment, or a manifestation of the human mind's capacity for resilience and self-destruction? The answer may lie in a combination of factors. A perfect storm for the outbreak of the dancing plague. One of the most enduring theories surrounding the dancing plague of 1518 is that of ergot poisoning. Ergot, a fungus that grows on rye and other grains, produces a toxic substance known as ergotamine. When ingested, ergotamine can cause a range of symptoms, including hallucinations, convulsions, and uncontrollable muscle spasms. The symptoms of ergot poisoning, known as ergotism, bear a striking resemblance to the descriptions of the dancing plague, leading some researchers to conclude that contaminated grain may have been the culprit. Ergotism was not uncommon in medieval Europe, where bread made from rye was a staple food. Outbreaks of ergotism, often referred to as St. Anthony's fire, could affect entire communities, causing widespread suffering and death. The symptoms of ergotism, however, typically include gangrene and burning sensations in the extremities, symptoms not widely reported in accounts of the dancing plague. Furthermore, while ergotamine can induce hallucinations and convulsions, it is unclear whether it could have caused the prolonged and frenzied dancing that characterized the Strasbourg outbreak. Critics of the ergot theory also point out that ergot poisoning would likely have affected a wider segment of the population, rather than the specific demographic groups most affected by the dancing plague. While the poison grain theory offers a compelling explanation for some aspects of the plague, it falls short of providing a complete and satisfactory answer to the mystery. The dancing plague of 1518 may have been a manifestation of shared anxieties and beliefs, amplified by social and environmental pressures. Strasbourg in 1518 was primed for such an outbreak. Oppressive heat, famine, disease, and social expectations created a climate of anxiety. Frautrefeuille's dance could have triggered a wave of imitative behavior. The plague primarily affected women, particularly those from the lower classes. Beliefs about dance leading to possession provided a cultural framework for the behavior. The citizens of Strasbourg found themselves in uncharted territory. The dancing plague, with its bizarre symptoms and relentless spread, defied their understanding. Fear cast a long shadow over the city. The initial curiosity gave way to a chilling realization. Something was terribly wrong. The city's authorities were ill-equipped to handle a crisis of this magnitude. Their world was governed by religious doctrine and traditional remedies. The dancing plague challenged their worldview, leaving them scrambling for answers. Some officials attributed the plague to demonic possession or divine wrath. They called for days of fasting and prayer. Others suspected a physical cause, perhaps a contagious disease. They issued decrees aimed at improving sanitation and isolating the sick. The city's physicians were equally baffled. They examined the afflicted, searching for signs of infection. They prescribed bloodletting and herbal remedies. Yet, the dancing plague continued its relentless march, leaving a trail of exhaustion and despair. As the dancing plague tightened its grip on Strasbourg, the city's response took an even more bizarre and tragic turn. In a desperate attempt to contain the outbreak and perhaps even cure the afflicted, the city council, on the advice of local physicians, made a decision that would later be viewed as both misguided and cruel. They decided to embrace the dance. Reasoning that the afflicted were compelled to dance by some unseen force, the council concluded that the best course of action was to encourage and even facilitate this compulsion. They believed that by allowing the dancers to indulge their frenzied movements, they would eventually exhaust themselves, and the plague would run its course. A large wooden stage was erected in the marketplace, and musicians were hired to provide a constant accompaniment to the macabre spectacle. Guilds were ordered to contribute funds to support the dancers, providing them with food, water, and even special shoes. to protect their bloodied feet. The city council, in a misguided attempt to appease whatever supernatural forces they believed were at play, even went so far as to hire professional dancers to join the afflicted, hoping their skill and stamina would somehow hasten the plague's end. The citizens of Strasbourg, caught between fear, desperation, and a morbid fascination with the unfolding events, flocked to the marketplace. They watched horrified, yet transfixed, as their friends, neighbors, and family members whirled and convulsed on the makeshift stage. The air, thick with the stench of sweat, fear, and incense, vibrated with the sound of pounding feet, mournful melodies, and the cries of the afflicted. The city council's decision to embrace the dance rather than curb it proved to be a grave miscalculation. Instead of containing the plague, the Sanctioned stage merely provided a focal point for its contagious energy. The sight of hundreds dancing into exhaustion and delirium only amplified the hysteria gripping Strasbourg. The plague fed off the energy of the crowds that gathered daily in the marketplace. As weeks passed, the number of dancers swelled, new victims succumbing to the compulsion. The wooden stage, once a symbol of hope, now stood as a grim monument to their folly. Yet, even as the plague raged on, a glimmer of hope began to emerge. The relentless pace of the dance could not be sustained indefinitely. One by one, exhausted and on the verge of collapse, the dancers began to falter. Their movements slowed to a weary shuffle. Their bodies, ravaged by constant motion, began to succumb to the limits of human endurance. The music, once intended to soothe, now seemed to mock the dancers' plight. The crowds, their curiosity replaced by unease, began to thin. The plague had reached its horrifying peak. The dance of death was finally nearing its weary end. The dancing plague of 1518 eventually subsided, its grip on Strasbourg loosening like a fever breaking. The once deafening beat of shod feet on cobblestones faded, replaced by the tentative sounds of a city slowly returning to life. The wooden stage, dismantled piece by piece, became a memory, a stark reminder of a time when madness had reigned. Yet, the echoes of that summer lingered, leaving an indelible mark on the city's soul. The physical scars of the plague, the hastily dug graves that dotted the city's outskirts, gradually disappeared with the passage of time. The psychological wounds, however, proved far more enduring. The citizens of Strasbourg, forever marked by the collective trauma they had endured, carried with them a deep-seated fear that the dance, like a malevolent spirit, might one day return. The plague's impact on Strasbourg extended far beyond the immediate aftermath. The city, once a thriving center of trade and commerce, faced a long and arduous road to recovery. The economic disruption caused by the plague, coupled with the lingering fear and uncertainty, cast a pall over the city's prospects, its vibrancy dimmed by the memory of that fateful summer. The plague also left its mark on the social fabric of Strasbourg. The shared experience of the dance, while ultimately unifying in its impact, also exposed and exacerbated existing social tensions. The fact that the plague primarily afflicted the poor and marginalized, particularly women, fueled resentment and suspicion, reinforcing existing hierarchies and prejudices. The dancing plague of 1518, though a historical anomaly, serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of human civilization, our susceptibility to both physical and psychological contagion, and the enduring power of fear and belief to shape our actions and our destinies. The echoes of that summer, though faint, continue to resonate through the centuries, urging us to confront the mysteries of our past and the enduring fragility of our present. The Dancing Plague of 1518 is a stark reminder of the human mind's power for resilience and self-destruction. It highlights the interplay between our physical and psychological selves and the influence of social factors. Similar cases of mass psychogenic illness have been documented in various cultures and time periods. These outbreaks show the power of suggestion and the influence of social norms. The Dancing Plague holds up a mirror to our own anxieties and vulnerabilities. Today, we face a constant stream of alarming news, fueling collective unease. Like Strasbourg citizens, we seek meaning and order in a chaotic world. Dance remains a source of expression and a metaphor for the human condition. It can be a celebration, a release, or a form of social bonding. The Dancing Plague reminds us of the thin line between ecstasy and despair. The Dancing Plague of 1518 remains an unsettling enigma, a stark dance macabre etched into the annals of history. It serves as a chilling reminder of the vulnerability of human beings, susceptible to forces we may never fully comprehend. The image of a city consumed by a relentless, uncontrollable dance is difficult to shake, a stark visual of the fragility of order and the ever-present potential for chaos. While we may never definitively unravel the mystery of what plagued Strasbourg, the event compels us to consider the intricate relationship between the human mind and body. Was it a physical ailment, a case of mass hysteria, or a toxic brew of social and environmental pressures that ignited the plague? Perhaps the answer lies in a convergence of factors, a perfect storm of circumstance that tipped the scales from order to frenzy. The Dancing Plague of 1518, though cloaked in the mists of time, holds a mirror to our modern world. We too grapple with anxieties, uncertainties, and the constant bombardment of information. While we may not erupt in a frenzy of dance, we find our own outlets, our own ways of coping with the pressures of our time. The tale of Strasbourg serves as a potent reminder to listen to the whispers of history, to acknowledge the power of the human psyche, and to approach the unknown with a blend of curiosity and caution. The dance of life, as Strasbourg learned, can swiftly transform into a dance of despair.